Thanks, everybody. Two quick thank yous. Thanks to OEN. I feel honored to be sharing a stage and be telling stories alongside of some of these incredible stories that have come today. So thanks, Sean, for keeping the wheels on. You've helped me a lot more than I think you even know. And Derwin Harris, co-founder of Jama, somewhere in the crowd. I wouldn't be up here if it weren't for him. And I'm freaked out for being up here, so thanks, Derwin. You really helped me out. So I broke my talk up into 3 sections. The first thing I wanted to talk about was, I think when it comes to situations where you need grit, where you need to be able to persevere, there's 3 ingredients that are pretty common. And so I want to outline what those ingredients are so that if you see them coming towards you, you can say yes, but build a little bit of a plan so you know what you're getting yourself into. The second thing, I was told I had to share a personal story. Anybody who knows me knows I hate talking about myself, so I'm going to keep that part really short. But hopefully it's entertaining, semi-entertaining. And then lastly, I think I'm calling them my 4 Fs. I made that up yesterday. But I think there's 4 things that if you build a plan before you start to get into a situation where you're going to really need grit, where you're really going to have to persevere, if you put a focus on these 4 areas, it'll reduce your stress while you're grinding out this time. And it'll also make it so when you get to the end, when you make that success and you look behind you, it doesn't end up costing you a lot more than you thought it was because you were so focused on the front. So those are my 3 areas. Anybody who knows me knows I love crowd participation, so I don't know where we're at on time, but if you get something, shout it out, and I'll roll it in if I can. So first thing, 3 ingredients. I think first one, right away, hard work. And I actually don't think it's when the hard work starts. It's when you've already been working hard for a long time and you poke your head up and you go, wow, I want to be over there. And it's like this little teeny light and you're all the way over here. And all you see ahead of you is a sea of more hard work. That's ingredient 1. You see that, get ready. Buckle your seatbelt because you're going to need grit to get to that next situation, through that situation. The second thing is when you poke your head up and there's that sea of hard work, you don't know how to do a lot of those things. They've got to get done, but you've never done them. You don't know how to do them. That's ingredient number 2, get ready. And the last ingredient is pressure. There's pressure that you put on yourself. There's pressure from friends, from family, from investors, from customers, whatever it is. You see those 3 things come together, don't shy away. You will learn more during that experience and you will grow as a person more than ever. But know that you're going to need grit. You're going to have to really persevere to get through it. It's not just going to be a hard weekend and it'll be over. You're going to be in for the long ride. But don't shy away. So when thinking of my personal story, I want to take those 3 ingredients, roll them in, and then also make it, hopefully it's semi-entertaining. So my story starts, I grew up here in Portland, Southwest. I went to Wilson High School, went to, yep, that's right, go Trojans. Yeah, finally. It's the rocker. Yeah. So I went to Wilson, graduated from Oregon State, but I started my career in the Bay Area. Worked for a few startups there, and one of them at the time was a company called iTrade Network. And what we did there was we helped with purchase orders, logistics, and invoicing for the produce industry. And what's unique about that industry is ordering the right amount at the right time is really critical. If it's Charmin bathroom tissue or Kraft macaroni and cheese, it can just sit in a warehouse, and when the store needs it, you put on a truck and it shows up. But when you're ordering produce, strawberries, oranges, bananas, the moment those things get picked, they have a timer. And they have to show up at the right place at the right time or they spoil and it gets wasted. So we had a really unique solution to try to fix some of those things. And it was an incredible journey. I was there when we were about 10 people and we grew all the way to 400 and I had a chance to do a lot of different roles. And this story takes place at a time when I was the director of project management. We had a handful of customers. We were about 30 people. We had a few big names. But we had just landed a client in who's located in Bentonville, very large retailer. And I offer all these EDI. Somebody said EDI, or I haven't thought of that term in a while. And they were our first account that was going to take us global. And so it was a really exciting time, but also right away, as soon as we signed the deal, I had checked 2 of the check marks for get ready because this is going to be a ride. The first one was we had never been global. The scale that they move product is absolutely incredible. Like imagine a container ship with every single container full of oranges leaving Spain, showing up in Philadelphia, and 2 days later it's at a grocery store in San Francisco. So it was this incredible scale that I never had experienced. A lot of people at our company hadn't experienced. On top of that, we had international logistics, US government, customs, all things I had no idea how we were going to get through these. But check the checkbox many times. No clue how to do that. And that was day one of them signing the deal. The second thing, day one of signing the deal, was we had originally scoped out about 8 months of work to try to figure some of these things out, to get ahead of them, to put a plan together. But they needed it done in 4. Why not? Let's do it in 4. Twice as much work that we don't know how to do in half the time. All right. So check that checkbox many times. And then rolled into the hard work. So these 4 months, again, we knew it was going to be tough. I spent my first month there in Arkansas, and it actually was pretty fun. We were working really hard, 3-4 meetings a day. I got paired up with their director of global procurement, and we're learning a lot about the supply chain, learning about what all these different people do. And it was exciting, because learning this new craft and the way this worked was really fun, even though it was draining. And that first month culminated in us essentially presenting to the executives a workflow. And this workflow was like any workflow I've ever seen prior or ever again. It was basically, it got printed on a plotter. It was about 4 feet tall, and it was about 12 feet long. And every person's box fit in a 1 by 1 inch square, about. And this was the simplified version. This was the version that was better than the prior version. But we got the approval, people said yes, and now the hard work really began. Now the grit kicked in, because I'd already been gone from home for a month. Personally, I recharged my batteries by being with family, being with friends. And so that was starting to really wear. And now we needed to take this thing and go sell it to about 60 managers and convince them that this was a better solution. And so it was like the emotion, it was a really hard time, because again, I had been away, but also you'd been working on something day and night and cared so much about trying to make it happen, and we went back to the pace of 2, 3, 4 meetings a day, and every single meeting was, this isn't going to work, that's not how our team, just over and over and over again. And you'd have to put a smile on your face, walk across campus, and try it again, and try it again, and try it again. But we eventually persevered. We got through it. We went back to these people enough times, and we created, at the end of this 3 months, we had created almost like they probably have in the Senate or in the Congress, yays, nays, and undecideds. And we had moved enough people over to the yay side that they said, all right, people want to do this, let's kick this program off. And this whole program, this whole 4 months of grinding work was supposed to take place in Spain. And we were going to roll it out with about 100 suppliers in their citrus category. So myself, James, who had been paired at my side, and then also the VP of this $20 billion program, a guy who we'll call Gary, he came out with us. I got to keep all the names like safe, you know. And so the 3 of us show up. Gary was a critical component. He helped us in the back throughout, so he obviously knew the program. But for kicking this thing off, he was going to be the lead, the anchor, and really sell some of the vision to these suppliers, because they were the. If this went well, the same program was going to get replicated all over the globe. So we meet at the hotel. We hadn't seen some of Gary's stuff, and James and I, we'd been tied at the hip, so we felt pretty good about our content. So we said, let's get up early. I'll meet you guys, and we'll all meet in the lobby. We'll spend a few hours, then we'll go do a few dress rehearsals, and then people will start showing up. Great. We go back to our rooms, go to bed. My phone starts ringing. I don't know how long I've been asleep. Phone starts ringing. Pick up the phone. Hello? Cody, it's James. Gary called me. There's an emergency in his room. Meet me up at his room. What? Click. He's gone. He's already gone. Okay, so put some more on face, get dressed, go up the elevator. James is standing at the elevator waiting for me. What's going on? I don't know. Gary just called me. Okay, so we go, knock on his door, and it's I forgot to mention, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. So, kind of disoriented slightly. The door opens about 3 inches, and just from those 3 inches, Gary's a mess. Like, the guy is sick. You can tell he hasn't slept all night. He's green, like lime green. And he just says, I don't know if I ate something, I don't know what it is, I'm going to the doctor in the morning, but there's no way I'm going to be able to make this event tomorrow. What? And so he says, here's my deck, here's my notes, don't mess it up. And click, closes the door. So James and I have a moment of what are we going to do with ourselves, and what is there to do? We got to figure it out. So we go, get dressed, we meet down in the lobby, we start going through his content, breaking up his slides, And long story short, too late, I know, the event goes really well. We sign up enough suppliers, and that kicks off this program in all these other parts of the globe. The reason I picked that story, and I want to tell it all the way from the beginning to the end, is the fact that it's not because I had some special ability or had some special powers to work with decks or I'm overly smart, like I'm just a regular guy. But it had to do with that 4 months of grit that we had put in earlier, that we knew the workflow down. I had already heard every single reason why it wouldn't work, and we had already come back 3 or 4 times and eventually made it work, right? It was that gave us the space to handle a curveball like that and actually take it from a situation that could have been pretty dire and turn it into something successful. So I think that we as entrepreneurs tend to focus on so many times the success story, but just know that especially if you're in a situation where you're grinding, where you're trying to persevere and it feels like you're not making any progress, know that you're creating space for yourself. When you get thrown that curveball, hopefully you can take that moment and turn it into a success and not a failure that you might not have another chance at. So that's my quick story. So to wrap, I want to just share my 4 F's, which is really 3 areas, which is confusing now that I say it out loud. But my 4 F's, which are, and the reason I bring these up is, I think if you can build a plan around these, don't say no. Like if you see grit, it's coming at you like a storm, sign up for it, say yes, but take 15 or 20 minutes, think about these areas, and I promise you, your stress will be slightly lower as you get into that. But when you come out the other side, it won't have cost you so many of the things that I think entrepreneurs can cost them when they're focused on it, focused on something ahead of them, and everything else around them can be falling down. So my 4 areas, my 3 areas that are 4 F's are your finances, your fitness, mentally and physically, and your friends and your family. And so for me, my quick things that I do, if I can lend any advice, would be when it comes to finances, I try to automate as much as possible. It's just one less thing to think about. Did that bill get paid? Did this happen? There's tools out there like Betterment and Wealthfront that can just help automate so much of that it's one less thing you have to think about. And the other thing around finances is just creating a general budget, but don't worry about pinching every penny. I mean, if you're spending $30 a day at Starbucks, you should maybe think about that. But if you haven't had coffee in 3 weeks and you want to go get a Starbucks or you want to go out to lunch with somebody, just do it. Like the joy you will get from that moment isn't worth the $10 or $12 that it might cost you. So create a budget, follow it, but I've been called frugal in the past, and I realize that sometimes it can be more of a distraction than a help. So that's the first. When it comes to fitness, mentally and physically, for me, it's about just moving. My wife always gives me a hard time. I like to read, and I'll be reading, and I'm in like stretching. You know, I look ridiculous. I'm sure I do. That got recorded, so it's great. But I think just being up and being mobile, we're so sedentary so often that your health, if you don't have that, it's going to be hard to grind anything out and have that grit to persevere. Also, try to get sleep. I've been trying to optimize my sleep for, I think, the last 6 months. Entrepreneurs, we all have ideas and things flowing, and it's hard to turn it off. Try to find a way. Meditate, go to yoga, all these things that are not hippy-dippy. Like, it's about surviving. Do them, because they can really help. And even if you get 4, 5, 6 hours of sleep, try to optimize it as much as possible, because if your brain doesn't work, I can tell you your grind is going to be significantly harder, and you're going to need way more grit than you ever even knew. And then my one thing on the mental is create small wins for yourself. So there's a lot of research and studies that have gone into creating small wins. Just things that help you feel like you're moving forward ever so slightly will help keep you moving. Because when you're using grit and you're really grinding, it can feel like you're going 50 steps backwards and you're not making any progress. But if you look back, I use Asana a lot. If you look back at your checklist and know I at least did these 3 things today, I can feel just slightly a little bit better, like I'm moving the ball in the right direction. And lastly, friends and family. So this one's huge for me. And what this is about is not about asking permission, not about saying I want to go down this journey, but more about I'm taking this journey. And I'm gonna need you at some point. I'm gonna pick up the phone, and maybe instead of saying, hey, where have you been for the last 2 months? Saying, hey, how's it going? Because having those people to talk to, having those people to vent to can mean building you back up or finishing maybe something that you really wanted to get all the way through. So that's it for me. Those are my 3 things. I hope there's a few things in there that are beneficial to you, and I appreciate you guys giving me the time. Thank you.